I'm making this video now because it's 3 in the morning and I can't fucking sleep. And it has to do with what probably every American is dealing with right now. Because really, that's the only way that they can get it to work. And that is the issue of wage suppression. There are other factors and phenomena occurring in the States that cause the impact of wage suppression, what is felt by it, to be experienced at a greater intensity. But my focus tonight is just the wage suppression and the insidious way that it is verbally presented to us when we ask for something like a raise or what have you. Now, the only way I can really talk about this is through my own personal experience, so I'm going to go with that. But please do understand that I understand that all of you probably have some sort of a story like this. Now, let's start off with the fact that in the past 10 years, the only company that decided to pay me more than what they paid me in what I was paid in 2016 for the essentially the same work, the same very much needed work in an IT environment, the only company that decided to pay me more than what I earned in 2016 swiftly cut me once I finished their project, leaving me out of work for 8 months, I might add, which they happened to be 2.5 years behind on with 5 years to complete it. And I completed it in less than 12 months. That's not all, I think it's jester maxing, as the young kids call it. I actually do get some amount of satisfaction out of my job. And so, while it is difficult at times to work as hard as I do, it's not a completely miserable experience because I'm actually providing value and doing something that I've wanted to do my entire life. And you might say, well, Namek, just be happy with that. And for now, I will have to be. Now, let's say some months later, I find new employment in my field. So I'm happy I'm not working as like an Amazon for an Amazon DSP or some shit, or working retail to make ends meet until you find a job in your field again. But I've been there. And it's temp to hire. So you say, I'm going to do a really good job here. I'm very familiar with all of this stuff. I'm just going to outperform and outwork my way to a raise, right? It's hard out here. See, generally in my field, these temp to hire contracts are fairly common, and generally the temp will pay quite a bit lower than what you actually end up getting hired for. At least in the past, this is how it used to work. Now, this is no longer how it works. And if I'm being honest, it probably stopped around 2019. But due to wage suppression, the idea of being paid more for having a good work ethic is completely extinct. But the fact of the matter is, someone who does a tenth of the work that I do gets paid exactly the same as me. If it's not sales, they don't care about what numbers you bring, what actual value that you can even document that you bring. It just doesn't matter to them. They're making more money by bidding lower on the contract by cutting your paycheck and everybody else's. But they present your salary freeze or your hourly freeze as a kudos program, something along those lines, where if you get a good write-up from your manager, then we'll give you a $50, $25 Amazon gift card or Visa gift card. Shit, if it was Visa, I could actually get some gas with it, but normally it's a gift card with trusted partners, right? It's a retail scheme. It's a cheap fucking retail scheme. So we'll give you $50 that you can only spend with Amazon, Target, Walmart, not even stuff I can get gas with or pay a bill with. What's $50 gonna pay for? You know, America, just in the last 3 weeks, this inexpensive $4.99 pack of hash browns that I used to buy doubled in price to $8.99. Same groceries I bought 3 weeks ago for $34 was $54 the next time I came around to buy the same exact shit. And I actually got less stuff. I'm just talking about protein and starch here, not like overpriced, sugary snack stuff. Just fucking pots and pans, cook it on a stove, protein, and starch. I'm trying to deal with price fluctuations like that, and my wage has been frozen for 10 years. They're doing this to everybody. That's why it works. Believe me, I understand my story is not unique. That's the problem. And it's engineered. It's just so clearly engineered and then thrown in your face. Well, we don't do raises, but, you know, if you can get a good write-up from your manager, we'll give you a $50 fucking gift card somewhere. You can buy some shit you don't need. People telling this to a millennial that's renting, that doesn't have a house, that would like to be able to save to get one. These people, they all have their shit, so they don't give a fuck about freezing your salary or what that's doing to you. And that's the problem. It's the older managers that already have all their shit that do this to folks who are trying to do something for themselves, but continue to get drowned in price hikes and economic fuckery by these folks, not just at Wall Street, but on the job itself. Because where the fuck are you gonna go when wages are suppressed in every field, in almost every job? Unless you want to be like a banker or a good salesman, but jobs that keep the lights on, that keep roads paved, that keep the servers on, infrastructure, shit that provides value by maintaining, and not necessarily in my field, but in a lot of fields, at significant safety risk. And the government's negotiating with contractors, locking in what everybody's going to be paid before the laborer has a chance to negotiate their salary. The youngest state legislator in the country is 25 years old. The current direction that this country is moving in at present rests firmly on the shoulders of baby boomers, Gen X, and early millennials. Part of how the country works is how the jobs work, how the pay progression works, how the reward system works. Those generations that I mentioned are who I see in those manager seats, in those director seats, that deny me a pay increase year after year, but grant themselves raises and bonuses every year. The kind of people who will lay off a whole department rather than take a pay cut themselves, even if that department was critical to operation. And let's face it, they sit on those jobs for 35, 40 years because all they're doing is telling other people to work. So they're basically retired already. And when you do finally get around to the negotiating table and you ask for your market rate salary, they will just gasp in surprise that you could ask for so much money. They sit up there and they'll tell you, oh, there's no way we could pay you anywhere near that. Or they'll say, and this is not true, but they'll say, oh, I don't even get paid that much. But here's the thing about that, you fucking boomer, you fucking Gen Xer, you fucking were born when times were good, motherfucker. If you were getting paid what I was getting paid, that same exact number, back in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, then yeah, you should be doing pretty good. But that same pay today is not shit, and you know it. They tell you that an engineer working in a massive IT infrastructure and they're giving you Target or Staples cashier incentives $50 gift card incentives in place of about $12,500 more that they should be paying you every year if it kept up anywhere near a reasonable standard since 2016. And for a lot of Americans in a lot of other fields, it's been a lot longer than that. I'm pissed off about this, but I can still pay my rent. I can still pay my bills. I can still buy my groceries and eat. There's a lot of Americans that make a lot less than I do that have dealt with this ongoing wage suppression coupled with price hikes, coupled with tax hikes for much longer, and are drowning faster than ever. And really, all I can say to those managers, directors, executives that have facilitated or been complacent in this wage suppression because it would buy you a $5,000 watch or another house or another nice new car at the expense of the lifeblood, the time of the American worker who you kept their wage suppressed, the impact that you've had on people's lives, you better hope that there's not an afterlife. Because if there is, and you go to hell, there's going to be a whole lot of people looking for you. In the meantime, I would suggest that you operate in a way to try to reverse some of the things that have caused this unrest in America before it gets to your doorstep.